Welcome to This Explainer. We're jumping right into a fascinating operational paradox today. The title really says it all. The applications were working, the decision was still impossible. We're going to be unpacking the Ransom-Kick resiliency model, and it's going to completely change how you look at crisis management. So picture this. It's the days immediately following a massive cyber attack. Your IT teams, they've been running on fumes, surviving on bad coffee and pure adrenaline. And against all odds, they've done it. They've seemingly saved the day. But here's where things get weird. The business itself, it's completely frozen. I mean, the apps are up and running, users are logging in just fine, the data looks fully intact, yet the core operations of the company are just stuck. It really begs the question, right? How on earth can an organization be entirely paralyzed when its systems are actually functioning? It completely shatters how we usually think about crisis recovery. Just look at the massive disconnect here between technical success and business reality. If you're looking at the IT dashboards, it's a sea of green. The ERP is restored, the CRM is available, people have their access back, the data is right there. If you're the CIO, you might be breathing a huge sigh of relief. But step outside the IT department, and it is a total nightmare. Customer orders are blocked, critical payments stuck in limbo, essential decisions are massively delayed, and day-to-day activities have basically slowed to a crawl. It's wild. The IT operation was a total success, but the business operation is failing miserably. Naturally, when the executive board looks at this massive gap between green IT dashboards and red business realities, they start asking some really tough questions, like how is this even possible? What they inevitably discover, and honestly, this is a massive paradigm shift for any leadership team, is that the root cause isn't actually an application failure. The explanation isn't always technical. We've been so conditioned to view operational paralysis just through the lens of broken servers or corrupted code. But we're finding out that's really only half the story. Well, if the problem isn't technical, what is it? The real operational bottleneck pops up because a necessary validation just can't be performed. And when we say validation, we're talking about an essential approval, a required authorization, a critical delegation of authority, or maybe a complex arbitration. Basically, a decision. The problem is no longer technical, it becomes decisional. Think about it. Even if the screen turns on and the software boots up perfectly, if the human or systemic mechanism needed to authorize the very next step is broken, the entire enterprise just grinds to a halt. Let's break this down in a real-world scenario. Take a look at a standard business flow. We kick things off with a customer order, right? But that needs commercial approval. Then we move to preparation, which relies on a logistics approval before anything can actually ship. And after shipment, you still need financial approval to finally get to invoicing. Notice how literally every single physical action, from wrapping a pallet to loading a truck to sending an invoice, requires a specific validation to move forward. The magic of the business, or in a crisis, its biggest vulnerability, lives right there in the spaces between the actions. Those approvals are the gates. And that brings us to a fundamental law of business operations. As long as those validations are working, value continues to move seamlessly through the organization. But the second those authorizations and decisions disappear, the entire flow stops dead in its tracks. Without validation, the flow absolutely cannot progress. I mean, you could have a warehouse packed to the ceiling with perfectly boxed products and a totally functional fleet of trucks waiting outside. But if the logistics manager can't access the verifiable data they need to actually issue that shipment approval, those trucks aren't going anywhere. The value is completely trapped. A validation acts as the absolute vital link in this chain. It all starts with information. That information empowers a decision, the decision triggers an action, and finally, that action results in value creation. If you break that decision link, all that raw information just sits there doing nothing. It never translates into action, and it certainly doesn't translate into value for the company. This is exactly why preserving your ability to decide is every bit as important as preserving the data itself. And this is exactly what we see playing out on the ground during a crisis. When major disruptions hit, organizations suddenly realize they have these massive blind spots. They find out they're missing the necessary delegations of authority, like who actually signs off if the VP is unreachable. They run into unavailable authorizations. They lack the concrete evidence or reliable data needed to make a safe choice. Or, honestly, they just suffer from unavailable decision makers. Every single one of these points represents a validation that can't be performed. The underlying tension here isn't about code at all. It's entirely about governance and human dependencies. Recognizing this reality forces a massive strategic shift in crisis management. Usually, the first reactive question in any war room is, okay, which systems should we restore first? But truly resilient organizations, they ask a very different question. which validations must continue to function. It completely flips the perspective. By focusing on the required validations, you map your recovery directly to the operational reality of the business. You aren't just turning machines back on, you're actively unblocking the company's ability to operate and generate revenue. To achieve true operational resilience, the kind that moves beyond just surviving into demonstrated, certified anti-fragility, we really need to understand this cascade from the Ransom-Kick resilience model. Applications simply execute activities. Data merely supports them. Business flows move the value, but validations are what allow organizations to move forward, leading to decisions. Those decisions are what drive value creation. Real continuity and reconstruction rely entirely on this chain. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's the certified ability to preserve, rebuild, and actually improve your capacity to create value no matter what kind of disruption hits. That is true anti-fragility. So, if we boil all of this down, the core takeaway is incredibly simple but profound. Without validation, there is no decision. And without decision, there is no real continuity. True resilience isn't about building a fortress around your servers or hardware. It is entirely about preserving the fundamental ability of your organization to decide and to act. If you can maintain your decision-making capabilities, you can navigate the crisis. If you lose them, you're paralyzed, no matter how flawlessly your IT team restores the network. To effectively map these critical validations, understand your dependencies, and secure your value creation mechanisms, I highly recommend exploring the resources created by Fabian POLISOIDIS, the founder of the Ransom-Kick resilience model and creator of Arkeionis.app. You can utilize Arkeionis.app, which is a powerful governance environment designed exactly for this purpose. Also, make sure to check out the YouTube channel Arkeionis Group and tune into the Spotify podcasts Conversations, Resilience, Ransom-Kick, and Ransom-Kick Resilience Talks. You can find all of this at www.ransom-kick.com and www.arkeionis.app. And remember, the core philosophy here: create value, maintain value, rebuild value. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to take back to your teams. When the next major crisis inevitably arrives at your door, what will your true focus be? Will your organization merely protect its technology, treating the symptom while the business bleeds? Or will it strategically safeguard its fundamental ability to validate, decide, and create value? Because the answer to that question is the difference between a business that simply survives a crisis and one that remains truly, anti-fragilely resilient. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.